Tes satu dua. Tes satu. Tes satu dua.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan, Rahayu. Saya ucapkan selamat datang kepada seluruh hadirin dalam acara Seminar Series of Introduction to Operating System. Kegiatan ini merupakan kegiatan kerjasama antara program studi Teknik Informatika, Program Studi Sistem dan Teknologi Informasi Untak Surabaya dengan University Malaysia Paris. Dan telah hadir di tengah-tengah kita narasumber yang akan memaparkan materi pada pagi hari ini, Profesor Dr. Insinyur T.R. Badrisa Ahmad. Beliau adalah profesor dalam bidang Computer and Communication System dari University Malaysia Paris. Puji dan syukur kita panjatkan pada Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, karena berkat rahmat dan karunia-Nya, pada hari ini, Senin 9 Oktober 2023, kita bersama-sama dapat berkumpul dan mengikuti acara pada pagi hari ini. Perkenalkan, saya Yusri Gamuktiha yang akan memandu acara hari ini hingga selesai nanti. Sebelum memulai acara, saya akan membacakan susunan acara pada pagi ini. Yang pertama, pembukaan. Yang kedua, menyanyikan lagu Indonesia Raya dan Himne Untak. Yang ketiga, pemaparan materi. Keempat, sesi diskusi dan tanya jawab. Kelima, penyerahan cenderamata oleh Kaprodi. Dan keenam, penutup. Untuk memasuki ke acara yang kedua, menyanyikan lagu Indonesia Raya dan Himne Untak, saya memohon Bapak, Ibu, dan teman-teman hadirin sekalian untuk berdiri. Selanjutnya, acara selanjutnya akan saya berikan kepada moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Buat saya atau Oke, selamat datang semuanya teman-teman sekalian. Selamat pagi. Good morning everybody. So untuk hari ini, today we're going to do it in bilingual, Indonesian and English. Ya, jadi don't worry, probably can speak Indonesian and Malay. He's been with us, beliau sudah bersama dengan kita sudah beberapa kali ya. This is the third time, isn't it? Third time. In Surabaya, ini yang ketiga kalinya di UNTAP. Jadi nanti kalian tenang aja pada saat proses diskusi tanya jawab, nanti silahkan bisa menggunakan bahasa Indonesia ataupun bahasa Inggris, oke? And then today we have our very good-looking professor here. Profesor Dr. yang senior TS or Badri Shah Ahmad, you can call him Probat gitu.
Yeah.
And he is the professor in department.
They can Google.
Okay. Then he said you can Google. Kalian bisa Google beliau tentang accomplishment ya di profesor di Universitas Malaysia atau UNIMED. Dan untuk hari ini, jadi sebetulnya kita punya dua sesi, hari ini dan besok. Untuk yang sesi pertama, the first session, we're going to talk about the introduction of operating system. And then the second session will be tomorrow, besok, itu di laboratorium, di computer center. But for tomorrow, we only have 30 people, only 30 students will go, because we have limitation in the computer. Okay, but we're going to record everything, ya. Jadi kita akan record semuanya sehingga nanti kalian yang tidak bisa hadir untuk sesi besok bisa melihat di YouTube ataupun mungkin via Zoom. Okay, so for the first session, Prof. Badli, I will give it to you for time and place. Please welcome Prof. Badli. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Into
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, all right. Should I also use the mic?
yes, sir.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning. How are you this morning? Okay. Good, very good. So have you Google me? Have you Google me? My name? What can you find in the Google? Of course, I know I'm quite handsome. In the photo, you will see. What does it say? Google. If you try to find me in the Google, sudah coba Google. Apa? Belum lagi. Waduh, tadi sudah suruh Google. Coba. Jumpa apa? Bapak jumpa apa, Pak? Google-nya jumpa apa? Suruh Google sama saya tuh. Dapat apa Google? Tidak mau cari? Sudah cari? You guna apa? Tuh gambarnya sudah keluar ya. Dia kata apa itu?
Masih ngetik.
Ngasih ngetip?
Ya.
Ngetip itu apa?
Ngetik.
Oh, type. Ngetip. Oh, type. Sudah jumpa? What do you find? Oh, this one? Handsome banget.
Yeah.
Handsome banget. Oh, who am I? Can you read? Who am I? Insinyur itu namanya. Itu aja. Tengok apa itu? Badlisha. Kita apalah nanti carilah lagi. dikaji dalam itu kan. Okay, so today actually this is just like a revision for you guys. I think I asked your lecturer. She said that you already in the fifth week of semester, minggu kelima sudah. Okay, for the subject OS, right? Okay. So how do you think OS subject? Interesting or what? Boring, Yes, I'm also, It's very boring subject. But however, it's very, very important subject. I have to tell you, it's very, very crucial, very, very important and very significant. Because in this world, everything, every electronic devices will use operating system. So it's very important for you to know the fundamental of operating system, types of operating system, how it works. Okay, give me one example of operating system. The name of the operating system. Okay, good. Windows. Example of OS.
Example.
Windows, okay.
iOS.
Linux, iOS, okay. Apa? Tidak tahu. OS-nya apa? Lagi. Siapa tahu lagi? macOS, okay. Lagi? Siapa sudah guna Windows? Sudah guna Windows. Okay, siapa sudah guna Linux? Angkat tangan. Siapa sudah guna Linux OS? Itu mesti wajib guna itu. Nanti bicaranya ajar guna. Okey, dia ada Android itu handphone itu. Coba cek itu Linux itu version berapa? Version. Siapa tahu? Linux itu dia ada kernel. Kernel version berapa? Saya cek saya punya telefon, itu kernel version berapa? Android sekarang sudah Android 14. Tapi kernelnya cari dalam setting about phone. Kernel version 4.14. Sudah jumpa? Android saja, itu telefon Mac itu orang kaya-kaya itu tidak ada ini, tidak tulis. I don't know, I don't use Mac, ada. Mac, I think they also have the OS version. Okay. So before I go to my lecture, which is boring lecture, so itu koordinatornya situ boleh tunjuk video. Sebab my point is one of the most important operating system that you should know or you should learn. If not teach by the lecturer, you should learn by yourself, right? It's called Linux. So I give you an introduction to Linux operating system in 100 seconds. Okay, boleh play Sound ada sound. Gitu. Give a talk on testing. Okay. So I wish I can have more talks on Linux, maybe some other times. Okay, so the reason why this is very important, because the subject operating system, as you know, is very boring subject, because it's very abstract, right? But it's very important. As I said earlier, it's very, very important, because if you call it any electronic devices, even this thing, right? They all use a kind of operating system. And there are lots of operating system which you don't even heard of it. Long time ago, it's quite very famous. They call Unix. Because you guys very young, you have not used Unix operating system, but that time it's very powerful. It's been used by most of the servers. All right, but for Windows, Microsoft, also very popular among the desktop users. Okay, so you will be surprised about Linux, because it is a free operating system. Free mean apa itu free? Gratis. Gratis itu. Ya. Kalau Microsoft itu harus dibeli. You need to purchase the license. How much the license? You don't know, huh? Because it's included in your laptop. When you purchase, it's included the license. But basically, you need to purchase the license. Yeah. Correct. Recorded. Okay. Correct itu kalau ikut tu haram itu. Itu illegal lah. Mana boleh illegal itu. Tapi untuk belajar mungkin tidak apa, itu kita mohon itu Bill Gates halalkan. Okay, so for your information, Linux has been used, Android, most of the servers, I think 99% of servers are all based on Linux. So after this, once you understand the operating system, maybe later on you can try Linux. Who's here want to become hackers? Oh, hacker. Anybody? Nobody. Haram? That's wrong. There are two types of hackers: haram hackers and halal hackers. I'm serious. Haram hackers, they go to somebody else's system, they hack into there, and then they change everything, makes people into trouble. But halal hackers, you study the operating system, make some modification, and then improve the operating system. Okay. So tomorrow, the workshop. Tomorrow I have a workshop on Linux, but unfortunately, because the limited space, we only have allowed 30 students. But maybe after that, some of the lecturers can also introduce this subject, introduction to Linux operating system. Very nice. I have been using this since 2000. I've been using Linux since 2000. Now 2022, for 22 years. Because Windows, last time I got frustrated because so many viruses. After 6 months, got viruses. You need to clean, format. Okay. So there are advantages of using Linux and other operating systems. So today lecture is on the fundamentals, just to get you interested. Okay. And how why it is so important. But the photo there, Android is everywhere. There's one OS made in China. Do you know what it's called? For handphone. Harmony, yes, Harmony. Because Android, they banned by the US banned Huawei to use Android, to use Google, Google Mail, Google whatever, Google product. So they come out with the Harmony OS. So there's a variety of operating system. Okay. So you should be interested to learn this operating system, although it's boring, but you should know, understand how it works. Tekan apa ni? Mana? Oh, lambat sedikit. Tak bisa. Oh, ni got mouse. Masalah, ada sedikit masalah teknikal. Siapa sini guna Mac OS? Mac OS. Laptop guna Mac OS, bukan handphone. Handphone bukan Mac OS kan? Handphone iOS. Itu laptop Mac OS. Siapa pakai Mac OS? Siapa? Farel? Mana? Oh, sana. Okay, good. Tidak perlu takut, tidak perlu risau saja, mau tahu saja siapa pakai, berapa orang pakai. Yang guna Windows semualah. Yang guna Linux, after this talk, I hope you will use Linux. Okay.
You have to say Bismillah first.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, so these are my course content. I'm sure you have gone through this in your lecture, but anyway, as I said, it's more like a revision. What is OS? What are the key functions? The evaluation OS? What are the popular types of OS? Right? My point is, my experience when I interview a student, right, as an engineer or a technician, even this simple question they cannot answer. For example, what OS are you using? What are the other OS that you know? So if you cannot answer this one, it's very difficult for you to get the job. All right? Because this is very important. And then basic Unix and Windows. Of course, Unix, it's been a long time. It's no more exists Unix. But the system used by Linux, actually Mac OS, is also based on Unix. So that's why you can see sometimes they would like to type the command, right? So similar architecture, Unix, Linux, and also Mac OS. In fact, Android, and so on. Okay, advantages. I will talk about advantages of open source. All right. There are two terms that you might get confused: free software, and open source software. You may think it's similar, but it's not similar. All right. Open source software. Do you know what you mean by the source? When you say open source, what source actually? Ini tahun berapa semua ni? Tahun berapa dia? Semester berapa? Oh, semester 1. Programming. Ajar mereka. Source mean open source tu source, bukan chili sauce. Itu source code. Source code, right? Okay, remember when you do programming, you need to create your own source code. And then once you complete your source code, and then you compile, you test working, then your friend take it from you and copy. Right? Right? Don't worry. I also like that, but I'm not the one who copy. I'm the one my friend copy from me. Okay, but never mind. The programming, a computer is like that. You get a copy, then you modify. Nothing wrong. As long as you honest, you tell your lecturers, you got this from this source, but you do some modification. It's good. Okay. Because sometimes you will stuck when you sit down. Your lecturer asks you to do some function, some programming. You get stuck. Don't know what to do. So take your handphone and find the source code. Or maybe now you can go to ChatGPT. Go to ChatGPT and please write me a code. Blah 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 function. But that's another topic. We talk about ChatGPT, something, that's another topic. But anyway, open source, I mean the source code is available. Microsoft OS source code available? You cannot get it. Cannot get, because Bill Gates keep it secret. So like Linux is open source. So there are many open source software. So if you want to know how the operating system works, you can go and search for the source code. The only thing is the source code is there, but you don't understand. Right? The source code is there, but you don't understand. You need to have more knowledge to understand the operating system source code. There are also network OS, especially for network devices, like the routers, the switches, Wi-Fi. Where's Wi-Fi? Somewhere. So they have their own operating system. They call it network operating system. Okay. Basically, when you say computer system, it consists of hardware and software. Yeah. When you say software, that means the application software and the operating system. Okay. Application software such as what? Give me an example of application software. Anybody? Just one name, one application that you use every day. PowerPoint, Microsoft Office, Also crack one. Crack. Haram, crack. I give you one more quite similar with Microsoft Office. They call it LibreOffice. Oh yes, mean what? You use it? You use it? Okay, good. Continue using it. It's free, halal. The crack Office, not halal. Not halal. So an operating system is a base software that acts as intermediary interface between the user of computer and the computer hardware. So of course, when you want to show some photos on the screen, which is available in your USB, so you use computer to search and then to display, right? It's like intermediary, this OS. So the operating system goals are to execute user program, the application program, whatever you call Microsoft Office, LibreOffice, PowerPoint, and so on, right? And make solving user, of course, solve user problem is so that you can use it as a calculator, whatever it is. Make the computer system convenient to use. You want to print using printer, so easy for you. Click, everything's click, and it will. So operating system do that. They make things easier. And then of course use the computer hardware in efficient manner. So sometimes when you go to the lab, the lecturer asks you to do the lab, okay, you do programming, but background you play game. Sometimes, not all the time. So you can exchange. You do programming at the same time you open up another application. So you can open up many applications, right? How come? How come you are able to open so many applications? Because the OS do the scheduling, right? It run parallel, but actually managed by the operating system in terms of all the resources like the memory and so on. So that's why operating system is very important. Okay, so between you user, right? You cannot access. So you cannot access operating system directly. Actually, you can. There's another interface. But basically, you will have a user and you access the operating system through the application. Then you have access to the hardware, like the keyboard, the screen, the printer, and so on. Okay, so as you're seeing, computer resource is divided into layers like this one. So each layer is isolated and only interact directly with the layer below or above. So it's like layer. It's like layer. Same like university. You cannot go directly to the rector. So you have to go through your docent, your lecturer. After that, your head of department or your dean, and then you go to the rector. Only if you have made so a big problem, then you go directly to the rector. Okay, but basically it is like hierarchy. So you have to go step by step. So that's the fundamental of operating system. So if we install a new hardware device, so no need to change anything about the user of application. So when you install, if you have any new application, you just install, right? So everything has been taken care by the operating system. You don't do any configuration to the hardware or whatever. Only that if you want to, you need to install the device drivers the operating system will use to control in the new device. So usually if you have a hardware, the device, new device like the printer, you need to install the device driver. Device driver is like an interface between your computer and your device. So you need to install the device driver, right? For the printer and so on. So if we install new software, so no need to make any changes to your hardware. So this is so obvious. You install, everything is okay, except sometime maybe the keyboard doesn't work or the screen doesn't display appropriately, like we call it the pixel, the resolution, right? Sometimes it happens because of the device driver which is installed not suitable. Okay, but we need to make sure the application is supported by the operating system. Okay, some application, for example, Microsoft Office cannot be installed on Linux. Okay, that means what? That means that some application which we have developed cannot automatically be installed on that operating system. Okay, so the application depending on the operating system. So when you want to develop an application, right, you should know whether this application can be run on what operating system. So is the operating system related or dependent? Okay, never mind, you need to. So if we change the operating system, so you need to make sure that both application hardware will compatible with the new operating system. So Microsoft force you to change the version, right? So they force you, whether you like it or not, because you purchase or you crack the software. So they control you. But if you want to change the operating system, obviously some of the application will also need to be changed, suitable with the operating system. You see here, which you always see, compatible, right? So when you purchase a software, they will say this is Windows compatible. Even some of the Windows, even the latest Microsoft Office does not compatible with all Microsoft operating system, right? So it's also depending on the operating system version. So it's related, this application always related to the operating system. So Microsoft very brilliant. So he asks you to change your PC every 3 years because they come up with the new OS, the new application. So you like it or not, you will change, right? But if you have an old laptop or computer like 3 or 4, even 5 years ago, still working, you can try to install Linux. Okay, you can try to install Linux. It will work, inshallah. So if you have a very old laptop, old desktop, right? Especially in the lab, UNTAD lab also, if they cannot support new features or cannot support new Windows operating system, you can install Linux to teach computer programming, even other types of application. So this is basically how the computer architecture works. So you have a CPU, and you have lots of chipset. They call chipset, ISA, PCI, and USB. So and you also have the RAM, random access memory. So the CPU. What are the function of CPU? Who knows? You learned already, right? CPU. What are the functions? Yeah, you can ask Google. One of the important function of CPU, yeah, is processing. Processing what? Ask ChatGPT. CPU. What's the function of CPU? What is the main function of CPU? Sometimes they call it brain, right? They're like a brain. CPU is a brain of computer. So without the CPU, brainless, no use. Sudah chat. Tadi dalam chat. Sudah. Tengah mengetik. Apa mengetik? Typing. CPU function. What are CPU function? Execution of program. Okay. So execute. So remember you write the C code. 1, 2. So CPU will do the execution of the code. Not the RAM. Not the RAM, RAM for what RAM? Yeah, it's memory. Memory. Okay. What is it? Memorize. Remember, you guys first year, right? So how's the C programming? Okay. Difficult also. Yeah, in this life, always difficult. Don't worry. There's nothing easy in this life. So everything is difficult. So execute function, execute code, right? So the code will be stored here. Your code. The code, right? You write, you compile, all right, and you execute. It will be stored here. So CPU does is just it's like running a clock. Look at number one, number two. Get the code from RAM and then execute. Get code, right? Execute. Like that. The CPU is like that. Very basic function, of course. And then when they come to interfacing, sending this keyboard as an input device, you type, right? So it will be sent to whatever the program. Same like if any output executed by the CPU, it will be display on your display, and also some of the files which you store in USB. So this is basically how the computer architecture looks like. You must have CPU, you have to have RAM, and this chipset. Okay, yeah. What time there? Oh, okay. Stand up for the national anthem. Okay, so I/O input output buses. So if you open up your laptop, if you look at the motherboard, you see many lines, right? Many lines, many parallel lines. That is basically the bus. Bus Indonesia kata apa? Bus juga. Bus juga. Bus. Why called bus? Because there are so many lines. Parallel lines. Sometimes 16 lines, 32 lines, right? So they call it bus. So basically this line, most of this line connected through number of lines. Call it bus. Okay, so the RAM, the processor, the keyboard is all connected through the special input-output buses. Okay, so these are the main function of CPU, which is the brain. So it performs all the calculation. One of the content of CPU, they call it ALU, arithmetic logic unit, right? So it content in the CPU because it do the sequential of program execution and also perform some mathematical function and logic. So in order to do that, CPU needs command to perform. So computer is computer, so it needs instruction to do things. So this is where your programming, that you do the programming, right? To instruct the CPU on what to do. So that sometimes they call computers is dumb machine, dumb, bodoh lah, bodoh. Sini apa bodoh juga? Bodoh lah. Yang cerdik itu manusia. Yang mesin itu bodoh. Tapi kadang-kadang mesin pandai pada manusia juga. Ya kadang-kadang lah, kadang-kadang. Tapi hakikatnya itu mesin itu bodoh. So kita yang programkan dia jadi pandai. Ya. Through the programming lah, because we are the one who control the computer. Okay, and then their instruction, as I said, travel through CPU and the bus where the information travel. So the execution of program or application can be conducted. So this is the main function for the CPU. And then we have the RAM, random access memory. So this is like a desk or workspace, like a desk where they put all the programs together so that the CPU can execute. Sometimes it happens, the memory not enough. Sometimes it happens. So if you want to increase the memory, so you need to add the RAM. Because sometimes they say, oh, my PC is very slow, so maybe you need to install the RAM, right? Why? Because RAM where you install the application, right? So CPU will access the RAM, execute. Take from the RAM, execute. So if you open up too many function, too many application, then it will become slow. That's the reason why usually we need higher size of RAM. Okay, never mind. Each location of the RAM, they have address. So that's how CPUs know where to get the information or the data, because they are based on the address. Okay, okay. So there are rules on how you can retrieve the RAM. So if RAM needs an operating system to work, an operating system needs RAM in order to work. So how does your computer activate its RAM to load the operating system? The basic is you have CPU which need RAM. RAM also needs CPU. So when you start up your desktop, how come? How does it start the operating system? So there's another program which will start up, which will read operating system so that it can be executed, right? So this is how it looks like. You have services, for example, the internet access that you're going to receive data from. So you have application. So they have application interface where they call it up to this level is the user mode or client. And then down here, the dispatcher, which control all the application, do the scheduling. You know, if you open up so many application, right? How does the CPU knows which one to be executed? Some are still running, some don't run. So for example, you are typing using Microsoft Word, but there's another that you going to download a file from the internet. All right, so CPU will do the scheduling. Okay. So this is where they call it kernel mode or the server mode. So you have to manage the memory, to manage the I/O devices like the printer, the camera, and so on, the file system, even the security system, who can log in, who can log out of the system, and also the graphic system. If you're playing games or you're going to do some image processing. So this is how it is controlled in the computer. So this part is the kernel, right? So the kernel have the access to the hardware through the device driver. Okay. So this has been explained. So that's why if you look at the Android phone, they talk about the kernel, right? They don't use OS. Okay, so the kernel is part of the OS. So like Android OS, it's combination of a Linux kernel, and then they add up some of the function specifically for the handphone. So they use the kernel. Kernel, as mentioned earlier, in the previous slide, to control this thing, right? So that's very important. So if you look at Android phone, they will only mention, not only mention, they will mention which kernel they use. Like mine, Linux kernel 14.14. Okay, so I'm sure this is first time you heard kernel, right? So that what mean is part of the operating system. For Linux based, for Mac OS based. Microsoft, we don't know, because they don't tell you, they don't show you the source code. They can tell you how the architecture, but they don't tell you how it really works, right? But for Unix based like Linux, Mac OS, they always mention about the kernel. So it is the one that has complete control over the whole system between the users and the hardware. Okay, so when operating system boots, kernel is the first part of OS to load in the main memory. So when you switch on your desktop, right, it will take the kernel. It looks like me lah. Take the kernel and then put in the memory. Okay. So the kernel remain in memory. The kernel itself in the memory for the entire duration of computer session. And the kernel code is usually loaded into the protected area of memory. So you have a memory. So that part of the memory will be installed with the kernel. Right? Remember, the kernel is the one who control everything. Okay? So the kernel will be protected in the RAM system, which you cannot, as user, you cannot access. You cannot change the data within the memory. So how that's it works. But when virus came, right, it will try to corrupt the data within the kernel. So sometimes that's why when your system affected by the virus, there are blue screen, the mouse doesn't work because the part of the kernel has been affected by the virus. So because there's a bad virus, because they try to destroy the whole system. And then the virus will also destroy your data in your hard disk. Right, they corrupt everything. So after that, when you try to reboot your PC, it can, because it's been corrupted. So you need to reformat, reinstall. I don't know what level of virus now. Is it now viruses is very common for Windows 11? Not common. Do you got attacked by virus? Huh? Sometimes, not as often as before. Huh? Maybe they have increased the security, but still there are tendency to be affected by the virus. Okay, so these are the kernel basically. And then you have a scheduler who, as I said, schedule all the application which you open many, right? So need to execute, who have access to the screen, who which application have access to the hardware. And then they include the supervisory, so it grant permission to use computer system resources to each process. So you have application, and also when they run, they call it a process. So each process need to have access to some of the resources like the printer, the keyboard, right? All the hardware, even the memory, right? So this is where the supervisor function. Interrupt handler. You know, your computer process a lot of interrupt. Example of interrupt, when you type Microsoft Word, before that you're trying to download file, right, from internet. Suddenly an icon pop up, downloaded, completed, right? So it is one type of interrupt where it is meant to inform the user that your previous process has been completed. Okay, so CPU also allows interrupt. Okay, like lecture also, I allow interrupt. You can raise your hand and ask question. All right, so something like that, because computer not only run one application, it run many applications. So it should have a function to control the interrupt. So the kernel do that. Of course, as I said, memory manager, because you have a very limited memory, right? But the system can run so many applications. Why? Because the kernel manage where the application data should be stored in which memory. Most of the PC or desktop, they have main memory. They also have virtual memory. Remember? Don't know, huh? Virtual memory. If the memory is not enough, so that's why if you have so that's why you can have different size of RAM, like 8 gig, some 16 gig, right? But they can still run the same thing. The difference is they maybe a little bit less speed. Okay, so how they do that? Some system has 8 gig memory RAM, right? Some has 16. So basically, if you have 16, that means you can run more. But some system with 8 gig, still they can run the same numbers of program or application. How do they do that? Because they have another RAM, extended RAM, they call it virtual memory. They have virtual memory. So if you have more, if the system need more application to run, some of it will be stored in the virtual memory. Where's the location of the virtual memory? Yes, good student. Hard disk, right? RAM is something which is volatile, it's very fast, but the hard disk also is memory, but it's very slow. So they keep, if not enough RAM, they put in the hard disk as at the virtual memory. So they will swap like that. So that's how they manage to control more application. System call, I think this is too complicated for you to understand, because in process like the kernel, they do the system call where you can basically, for example, you want to terminate the application, suddenly it's hang. Has it happened to you? Your application hang, right? Your system hang, what do? Restart. Or there's another key. Control Alternate Delete. You use it? Oh, yeah, Control Alternate Delete. So you choose the application, you select, you kill that program. So the program will kill. So system call can do that. So this is called special execution for application. Okay, never mind. Okay, they call it system interrupt, where you can send a signal to terminate the application. So they call it system call for this. Okay, what else? So this is what happened when you start a PC. Starting an operating system, the booting, they call it boot. So this is the time flow. Remember, you not only have CPU, not only have hard disk RAM, but a small tiny computer, small thing. They call it BIOS. Actually, BIOS is also a computer within computer. Remember, sometimes you want to change the boot, so you open up the BIOS. So BIOS will do, as I said, you have operating system. Where is the operating system reside in your PC? In the RAM. Before you start, where's the operating system? HD. SSD, your hard disk. So who is going to put operating system inside the RAM? Okay, right? You see, that's the requirement of BIOS, because your desktop, you have CPU, you have RAM, you have hard disk, basic. But the OS reside in the hard disk. When you shut down, OS in the hard disk. So you need another process which take the OS to put it inside the RAM. So this is the task of the BIOS. So the BIOS will be initiated. It run small. Actually, it's a computer within computer. All right. So it starts, run, and then find the location of the operating system, because your hard disk is huge, right? So where does it need? How can it find the operating system, which you need to put it into the RAM? So basically, they will put it into the master boot record. So once identify the operating system, then it will run the bootloader to load the operating system and put it into the memory. Inside the memory stage. After that, you can basically, this is why power on switch. It will start the motherboard. It will do some of the testing. Then the power up is good. Then the BIOS take over. In real mode, CPU is only capable of using approximately 1 megabyte memory built into the motherboard. It's okay. So it will do the testing. So the BIOS will then look for small sector at the very beginning of your primary hard disk. They call it master boot record. So you will find in the hard disk, huge hard disk, you will find the one small sector called master boot record. So master boot record contains a list of map on how the partition of your hard disk. So after the MR is found, the MR, so it will do the bootstrap loader, which will take out the operating system and put it into the RAM. Okay. So what is BIOS? Of course, there are details of BIOS here. It's a firmware which is come with your desktop. So if what happens if the BIOS corrupted? Change laptop. Because there's integrated chip inside the motherboard. So if it's corrupted, then there's no way. You need to change the whole, you need to change the PC. But usually BIOS, because it's used not regular, so it will not, mostly not corrupted. Okay. So this is what happened if you remember when you have a problem, unable to boot the OS. So usually you will press F2 or F10. Okay, any questions so far? How do you feel? You can see how operating system is initiated. Yeah, so, yeah, I know it's boring now, but at least you know when when things gone wrong, when your OS cannot boot up. So that means either the BIOS, all right, or your OS itself corrupted. Okay, record the bootloader. Usually the size is around 512 bytes, very small size. Okay, so this is called a BIOS. So, and then they have a new one. They call it a UFI, Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, which is a more advanced BIOS. The previous BIOS, no security at all. You can just boot up and so on. But for UFI, you need to make sure that the file are secure. So that's why some of the Windows laptop, when you try to boot Linux, right, it will not allow you to do that. Because Bill Gates so smart. You cannot use other than Microsoft. You have a Linux. If I give you Linux OS, right, to install on your laptop, right? So the laptop will not allow you to boot Linux. So you need to go to the BIOS and do some changes, do some configuration, which allows the laptop or the desktop to boot the Linux. Maybe tomorrow we will try during the workshop. Okay, so these are the details. I give you the link later on. Dr. Intan will give you the link of these slides. So these are some of the very important function of operating system. So it includes to control the input-output, your devices, your hardware, and to do some memory management. As I say, some desktop, they have 6 GB, some 16, 32. So, but they can also run the same application, right? Only that the less memory will run it a bit slower than the more memory. Managing processes, PC, your desktop, you don't run one application or you run many processes, even your handphone also, right? They run a lot of processes. So the main function of operating system is to manage all the process, interpreting user command, and then resource allocation. So these are the main function of operating system. I think this is very popular question in exam. Maybe, where's the lecturer? She's trying to. So this is the important thing usually that you need fundamentally know. Okay, so when you say process management, what does it mean? A process is program in education. That means whatever application that you open, right? The OS itself is a process. What do you think? Like Microsoft Office, Word is process, right? Operating system, do you think is also a process? Confused? Confused, huh? Yeah, it is also a process. All right. The OS itself is a process. So all system which runs is called a process, or the OS itself. A process, of course, needs certain resources like the screen, the keyboard, the mouse, whatever. So it will do this, including CPU time, memory. So the CPU or the computer will, the OS itself will do this managing all the process. Simultaneous execution leads to, okay, because as I said, when you have a computer, even your handphone, so you run lots of application, right? Sometimes you use chatting, WhatsApp, and then after that Telegram, and then internet, Google Chrome. So this need to be managed properly. If processes are dependent, then they may try to share same resources. So OS do this. They manage all the processes. Okay? You're not surprised, huh? You don't feel surprised because you can open so many applications in your laptop, in your handphone. So basically, these are controlled or managed by the thank you, yeah, by the OS. which OS is also one of the application. So OS is like the rector. Okay, the rector control everything. Or the docent control the student. Although it is an application, but the function of OS is to control. That means, can you write your own operating system? Yes, you can write your own. That's what happened with Linux, like Android and other operating system where you can write your own, because it's just a matter of application. Okay. Have you experienced that? What? Yes. No. The answer is not out yet. Already. Does it happen to when you try to open an application, they say memory insufficient? Yes or no? No, huh? Everything smooth, huh? Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, because it shouldn't happen, because if the hardware is sufficient, like the memory is on, the OS are able to run it, whatever it is. But sometimes it also happen, the insufficient memory. I think mostly because either the operating system corrupted or the application is trying to access some of the memory part which is not allowed to. Okay. So basically, the operating system will handle everything. So everything should be okay. Whether slow or fast, depending on the hardware. If you use the same software, it should run the same speed as other machine, as long as the same specification. But if you have like the higher speed of CPU, you have higher memory RAM, so most of the application will run faster. Okay, process management, one of the function, and then the memory management. Okay, so you will learn in your class the address, right? So types of memory addressing. So this is, as I said, it's a volatile. That means when you switch off, for the RAM, when you switch off, all the data save will be volatile, will disappear. The only thing that save is in your hard disk, right? There's a fixed memory there. The RAM, anything saved in the RAM will disappear. Here say, in addition to physical RAM install, you must modern operating system allow your computer to use virtual memory. As I said, even you have 8 gig RAM, 16, when they have the virtual memory, so it allows you to run more application. Okay, process management and then memory management. You also the CPU function is to file management. So you have many types of file, like PowerPoint. What's the format? PPT, PPTX, right? PPTX. Like you have file, PDF file. All right. What else? GIF file, MP3 file. Right? But how can they read all these different format? Different file, different format, isn't it? So this is function of the operating system to file management, and also where to save the file in the hard disk. Not in you. What you see is the directory C, D, E, F, right? But Mac OS, he doesn't see CDE. How was that guy use Mac OS? No CDE, right? He's watching handphone. If you ask Mac user, they don't have CDE, right? They only have directory names. Home directory, and then the names of the directory. You should try. Maybe tomorrow, if you go to my workshop Linux, then I will explain to you the difference. Okay, the rest. Okay, the type of formatting of the file. All right, one of the formatting of the file, they call it FAT12. Okay, FAT16. This is old formatting. FAT32, older version of Windows. Then they have NTFS. But for Linux, they have different formatting for their file in the hard disk. They have extended 3 for Unix and Linux. For Mac OS, they have their own different formatting of how they save the file, HFS. Okay, so the operating system is responsible for the following activities with file management to create the file, right? When you want to create a file, so OS will create it for you, then you give a name to it. You can also delete, you can also rename. So this is all the task of operating system. And then you can create directory and so on. Okay, file backup, of course, you can do that. Okay, the next OS to manage the device management or IO management. Similar like your handphone, right? You have camera, you have keyboard. What else do you have? Camera. That's all. Speaker, maybe speaker, Bluetooth speaker, your earphone. Right? So OS do that management of the hardware. So like device controller, and of course, as I said, if you have a device to interconnect OS and the device, you have to have the device driver. It's like a bridge between the OS and also the hardware. Never mind, this is a special device in the inside CPU called the interrupt controller handles, which handle the task of receiving interrupt requests and priorities them to be forwarded to the processor. This is an example if you work at the electronic industry, where you have a machine. In fact, if you been in the petrol station, remember you have the red button. If something emergency happen, you can press the button, right? So that pressing the button allow whatever process to be stopped during that time. So this is also one of the things managed by operating system to manage the devices. Deadlocks can occur when 2 or more processes have control of different I/O resources. So when you try to print, two person or two application try to use the printer, suddenly they clash, right? So they call it deadlock. So the CPU don't know who should use the devices. So OS will do that, try to avoid this kind of thing. Okay, never mind. So basically all the devices also managed by the operating system. 20 minutes, huh? Okay. How many slides more? Okay, never mind. So OS also the security. Who have access to your phone? Now you can have the thumbprint, right? So it's also the function of operating system. You need to log in, isn't it? Like my handphone, my wife cannot open. Very dangerous. So I make sure I have the use my thumb. But sometimes wife also very clever. When I sleep, they can use my thumb to open the handphone. So that is part of security managed by the operating system. Because for example, the server, right? Server, so many server. Of course, you cannot access to that server. So they have to have this function, security function, managed by operating system. Some like Linux, Mac OS, the Unix space, the users only can have access to certain directory only, certain files. They cannot access to another directory. I'm not sure Windows do that now or not. Because remember Windows long time ago, if you have your new login, you can look at your friend or other account directory, file and so on. Right? I don't know Windows 12, maybe they improve. Because the same PC, the same desktop, right? You have access all the directory. So that also need to be looked into as an operating system. Okay, user interface. You see Android different, Mac OS different, Linux. You see how they manage the interface. They click, some click, the wallpaper is different. So these are all the interface controlled by the operating system. So make that you to make sure that you are easy for you to use the system. So this is part of the operating system function as well. Actually, there are two types. I'm sure you have not used one of it. One is command line interface where you type. You know, for Unix or Linux, if you want to install any application, you can just type. Right? But Windows, you can click, double click, and then it will install. So there are two types of interface, basically command line and also graphic user interface using the mouse. Okay, so these are the example. Remember the previous video, how they show how you can use the command line here, for example. Here, if you want to know the date, so of the system, you go to the command prompt, you type date, D-A-T-E, so it will show you the date. So these are the command prompt. So and this is the command. So that's why if you are expert, if you are expert in server management, if you work like a big company like IBM or any big company, so your responsibility is to look after number of servers, right? So you don't need to go to the country of that particular server. You can just log in to that server, get the IP address, and you can control from anywhere you want. So that's how hackers do, right? So they are somewhere else. So they go to they identify the server that they want to attack. They go there and then they log in, they hack the password and so on. So this is very important. If you after this you work as a system server administrator. So this is one of the important skills that you need to have, because you can control everything. Right? Same like Elon Musk send satellite, right? So usually to get it fast, you need to know using the command line to switch off the satellite, to switch on something like that. Okay, so this is types of command line. The graphical user interface, I think you have used it. I think most of us have used it before. So this is how it looks like. So everything's easy, just click everything. Right, so this is one of the types of popular user interface. So a little bit on the history. The first generation started in 1940s. This is the first generation, no operating system. That means you just write the program, it just execute as you want it to perform. Because at that time only one application, not like now. So many applications that you need to run simultaneously. So no need operating system. Based on absolute machine language. Now you do your program based on what language? Don't know language. C, yeah, C. There are also many languages like Python. Many. So this is also very important question when you go for interview. Type of OS. Even they don't know Microsoft is OS. Type of programming language. So this is quite very fundamental question they will ask. Okay, the second generation, 1955, 65, the first operating, it was called GMOS. Okay, never mind. So this is created by General Motors. And then single batch processing, that means it's not multi process. So it will run one application at a time, one, right? The third generation, multi-programming, where they have mini computer. And then the fourth generation until to present day, the PC, Mac OS. Now the handphone. Handphone is It's like a PC as well. It's like a computer, right? More complicated. Okay, these are the types of operating system. Batch operating, so batch by batch, right? There are functions, so you run one first and then later on sequentially. Multi-programming, multi-tasking. There are also time-sharing operating system, multi-processing operating system, distributed operating system, network operating system, real-time, real-time, especially for the aeroplane. They must use real-time operating system because if they change the steering or anything, they need to have a fast response. Not like some of your desktop, when you just click, it takes some time to open up the application, right? They have a delay. So for application like the aeroplane or machine in the manufacturing company, they must use real time so that when you click, it will execute. Click, execute. So that's what I mean by real time operating system, where they want a very low delay or fast execution. And of course, it's expensive. And embedded, now I think you have very famous one, embedded system. Raspberry Pi, Raspberry Pi, a kind of embedded system, right? So I talk about Raspberry Pi OS also, right? There are many more like embedded, the small computer system, which also have this kind of thing. So these are some of the details of a batch operating system and so on. Multi-programming examples. All right, I try to time sharing, the type of time sharing, multi-processor, distributed operating system, where you have this example, Locus. Maybe you have not heard of this, maybe you can find it in the website. Here, network operating system is especially like the Wi-Fi, the router, so that they call it network operating system. Especially for network, right? Processors. Also, real-time operating system, as I said, they need a very fast response to inputs, right? So they need our Android, our Microsoft is not real-time, so it takes some time, some delay. This is an example of the importance of missile system for military, for air traffic control. So you need a very fast response. Robots as well. And here some of the embedded operating system. Windows XP, I don't think they use this anymore. Windows CE last time, Palm, also Symbian. Also for your printer and your scanners also. So let's look into the popular type of OS. Of course, Windows. For Mac OS, they use OS X. Of course, Unix or Linux, but Unix is gone. But Linux is based on Unix. So that's why sometimes they call it Unix, Linux. Chrome OS, have you heard of this? Not that popular. You can purchase the desktop, which they install the Chrome OS. What else? You have, this is the desktop server. You have Windows Server, you have Mac OS server. Also Linux, also server based OS. And for the handphone, they have Android, iOS, and also Windows Phone. Windows Phone no more popular. I don't think it's available in the market. So last time they worked with Nokia. Remember Nokia? Nokia failed because they don't choose Android. So they choose to maintain the Microsoft OS, so they collapsed. Gone, no more Nokia. Okay, never mind. So DOS, Unix, Linux, Macintosh. Okay, this is the operating system. Of course, Microsoft MS-DOS. You have no opportunity. We have you have used MS-DOS before, right? Last time, for old people like me, we have used this before. And then here, now I think Windows 12, Windows 12. Huh? Now the latest Windows is 12. Huh? 7? 12, right? 12. 11, 11. You don't know? Oh, you should know. Never mind. So it will keep increasing because they want more of your money. This is business, right? So they create new one, so you need to buy. Okay, so current edition, I think 12. So this is how it looks like, right? The interface. Mac OS, this one. Okay, they have version, they call it Sierra, High Sierra, Mojave, Catalina. They give names. They have names. Windows very easy. Windows 3, Windows 9, Windows 11. For Mac OS, they have the name like that one. So this is how it looks like. Mac OS. Very nice, huh? Very nice. Very expensive. Very nice. Very expensive. Okay, and then Linux. This one. Surprisingly, Linux is the most used in terms of for server based, some of the tablet and also smartphone. Of course, they don't call it Linux. They call it other name called Android, but it's based on Linux, based on the kernel. Okay, when we say a free software or open source, that means users are free to modify the code. You can change. You can change the code. You can create your own OS. You don't like it? You can change. Very difficult, of course. 10 minutes. Okay. 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 Yeah, you can change. Here you can develop are not allowed to charge money for Linux kernel itself, but they can charge money for distribution. You can charge for services. So if your friend if you know how to use Linux, right? If your friend want to install, do something, you can charge. No problem. But if you want to crack the Windows for your friend, that one cannot. Haram. Haram. For Linux, okay. You download, you do modification, you install. Halal. Halal, yes, halal. Not only food, halal, haram, but software also. Okay, of course, Google Chrome, very popular last time, but suddenly is lose its momentum. So this is how it looks like. A bit different. They sell it, but not popular in Asia. Usually in US. And then server, yeah, we have also Windows Server. Quite similar with Windows GUI, graphic user interface. You have actually there's no more Unix. There's mostly Linux based. Okay, so this is how it looks like. This is Windows. Here also Internet Explorer. No more Internet Explorer. Now they have what? Edge. Yeah, Edge. All right. Okay, for Unix, this is why people are afraid of Unix, because they thought everything is command. Everything need to be typed. But it is part of it. Actually, they also have this interface. Okay, this is tablet and phone operating system. As I said, Android, tablet and phone, everything. They also. Okay, you can install very easy installation of using the Google Play or App Store for Apple. Okay, so this is how it looks like. And then Android. I think most of us use Android. Affordable handphone. Affordable. Okay, it's developed by Google. Current version, I think Android not 8. They call it Oreo. Food, snack, Oreo, chocolate Oreo. And then Pie, Android 10, no name. Android 11 released already. Now Android 14. So when I say Linux, this is where I do marketing to encourage you to use because you're going to be a IT expert. So you must know Linux. At least it's open source, source code available. In terms of security, also good. Okay, no viruses. Linux no virus, same like Mac OS. You don't know, huh? So Windows they got virus, it can be affected. But Linux, no worry about viruses. It will not get affected because it's too complicated. Because you also don't want to use it. Virus also don't want to go. Because it looks complicated, but actually it's not. Safer. Free, gratis. You don't want free? Huh? Mau ya? Download, just download. Just download it. Okay, can be distributed, no need for license, lightweight, and so on. So the performance-wise, you should try. Maybe lecturer also need to include in your lecture on how to use. Even the lab. I suggest Untak, you have one Linux lab for the student to test. If not, you only use Windows, right? So one, maybe Dr. Intan, we find one lab. Maybe tomorrow, one lab all Linux. So you can try and use the Linux, right? Already? Okay. So you should know. No, you should try. Don't be afraid. Don't worry. If you damage the system, we can always reformat and reinstall. In terms of software update and so on. Never mind. So you can also have OS in the USB. Yeah. If you Microsoft corrupted, but you have a file in there you want to retrieve, you can use Linux Live OS. You open it up, it runs, then you go to the hard drive and transfer the file to somewhere to another external hard drive. So they have this kind of facilities. And of course, suitable for programmers where you have the what call it? You write compiler. When you write a program using C, you need to compile, right? What kind of compiler are you using? You see, most of you will not know this because I know. The compiler, either GCC. What are the application that you use to write your code? Visual C, Microsoft. So you need to know what the compiler. But for Linux, they already installed the compiler by itself. Okay, I want to talk about this community services because Linux operating system, there is no owner. There's no company selling. They are based on community. Only one OS, which is called Red Hat, but that's specifically for server. So you need to purchase that software because it's specially made for the server. But for normal user, you go to the website, you can just download. But there are people who are improving the code and so on, community. So you can be part of the community. Okay, privacy, as I said, networking, they all already provide the driver for networking hardware. Compatibility, installation. Okay, never mind. So it's very I think it's very important for you at least to know about Linux operating system, and then you should try with the command line instruction rather than just click using the GUI. So I think basically that is all about operating system. It's very boring, of course, but very interesting for you to understand more, because this is your future, your career in IT. So if you don't know about OS, something is wrong. All right. So this is very important subject that you need to master. At least you should be able to explain to others, maybe your parent, your friends, what is operating system. At least you know how to explain and how it works. So I hope that's all. I open up for question and answer.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kita informasi itu punya manajer. Jadi silakan apabila ada yang ingin
Ya, tanya. Bahasa Indonesia pun boleh tanya. Paham tu semua? Paham sudah? Paham. Ya, paham. Salam.
First of all, we have PC, all PC, and we want to put to another PC, but with the same SSD that already installed OS. When we move to the other PC, one we have to follow it.
I'm not clear about the first question. What was it? The first question. You have one PC with one OS.
Yeah.
And then
When we want to use but with the same SSD or maybe we move SSD and currently to another PC. And why
okay. Remind Dr. Intan will rephrase to me. Okay, the next question.
and the next person
Okay, better.
di luar mereka
Ulang install Windows.
dan itu jenisnya MBN dan divisi atau
UFI tadi, UFI.
dan cara membedakannya itu tergantung BIOS apa gimana.
Oh, bergantung pada BIOS-nya.
Iya. Itu pertanyaannya. Apa tergantung pada BIOS atau penyimpanannya?
Oh, okay. First question tadi I'm not clear.
The first question is actually if they have an
SSD and no hard disk.
But usually when we move it, we have to install.
Okay. All right. So remember when I said when the operating system is like interface between the application and the hardware, software and the hardware. So basically, when you move the OS to another hardware, the hardware device driver change. So that's why you need to reinstall the OS, because applications are the same. Only the hardware might be different. Like for example, the size of the RAM, then the hard disk. You use SSD, right? the keyboard, the display. So that's the reason why you need to reinstall the OS when you move the SSD to another desktop. Okay. So that's the reason why. The second question, UFI. So this is the bad thing about the Microsoft bit, because Microsoft, they work with a computer manufacturer like the Dell. So they agree in some sort, like they want to monopoly. If only Microsoft OS can be installed. So that's the reason. But however, either the Linux community or other OS community, they can provide the keyword which is safe to be installed. So that's what UEFI does. Like the original BIOS, there's no security at all. You can just install anything you want. But once they introduce the UEFI, it's more secure. So whenever you want to install any operating system, they will check whether that operating system is like a verified operating system. That means it has the safety keys. So then you allow. But sometimes we can bypass the UEFI. You can make it secure boot or unsecure boot because it's up to you. The reason why they do that is because, as I said, they want to secure the desktop. All right, so people might install it or anything in the desktop. So that's the reason. But for me, actually, they want to monopoly. They want to make it difficult for you to install other operating system. But I think because of the community request, they must allow it to be configured rather than secured, or you can make it enable it as unsecured. But you already know the OS that you want to install is secure. You know what you want to do with your hardware. Okay, good. No price, eh? If we give price, they will ask. Oh. By okay, check. All right. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. OS. Yeah. How? Oh, bagaimana bisa? Okay, ya. Ya, jadinya yalah kena belajar lagi lah. Bagaimana bisa? Ya, dia OS yang Linux bagi itu, dia quite variety of function. So when I say you create your own OS, you can create your own GUI. I mean, don't create, you can choose the variation of GUI, variation of application that you want to use for the OS. But that's the lowest level of creating the OS. I think there are version for Indonesia Linux you can find. I cannot remember, but there are a version where they create Linux, Indonesian Linux. Maybe you can find. What is it called? What is it called? Yeah. Actually, yeah. You can find in the Google.
Thank you. Another question?
Don't be afraid. Any question you can just ask. Whether I can answer or not is depending on my knowledge. Apa beza dia? Okay, yang okay. Saya cuba jawab. Sebab saya sudah guna Linux ni about 22 years already. 22 years. Since Red Hat 6. Red Hat 6.2. But now I use Linux Mint. Mint Cinnamon. Okay. Yang pertama, bezanya yang pertama lah virus. So dalam Linux tidak ada virus. Virus ada tapi dia tidak boleh buat apa, dia duduk diam saja. Kalau Windows itu ada kadang-kadang kena virus. Saya banyak kali kena masa tahun 2000 tu yang saya tukar tu sebab kejap-kejap dia virus kan. Tidak boleh baca, keluar skrin biru. Itu pertama lah. Yang kedua, saya mau guna benda yang halal. Ya, selama ini guna yang haram tapi saya sudah bertaubat. Taubat sudah. Kan sebab dia gratis. Sebab you boleh download, you can choose. There are many variation of Linux. Tadi ada Fedora, Arch Linux, various of Linux operating system. When I say various, bila kata various itu dia punya application-nya berbeza dari segi GUI-nya berbeza. Kan dia ada banyak. Tadi sebab itulah gratis, halal. Dan saya sebagai dosen saya mau mencuba kan apa yang bagus Linux ini kan. Untuk makluman, isteri saya pun guna Linux. Isteri saya. Dulu dia guna Windows. Saya bagi tahu pada dia ini OS terbaru. Latest OS. Jadi dia guna okey saja. Because I'm telling you, sometimes people say, oh, very difficult, I don't know how to use, blah, blah, blah. I used to Windows. All the time you want to. But when you change, you won't see any difference. You have, actually, there are a lot of application. As I said, the compiler, you have lots. You have application, even you don't have Microsoft Office, but you have LibreOffice. You have PDF reader. You have player, movie player. There are many. There are, I think, millions of applications. So you don't need to pay. Like Microsoft, you have to pay most of the application. Right. So that's the reason why. And then I think the rest is maybe if I have an old laptop or old desktop, I can install Linux. It runs smoothly. So you can, sometimes very slow if you have a big files to be open, movie or so on, but it works well for all PC. If not, you have to purchase a new license or you need to purchase a new desktop. Itu sajalah yang ada. Okay.
Maybe one more?
One more?
Okay.
Actually, in Indonesia, there's a lot of Linux enthusiasts. There are many. If you look in the YouTube, you will find most of the Linux, you will find Indonesian people too. Okay. Sudah guna belum? Sudah? Aman nggak? Aman. Yeah, actually you can. You have one desktop, 2 operating system. Maybe 3, maybe 4. So actually aman lah, aman. Sometimes the danger is if you open up Windows, it should be open one at a time. Even I say 2, you need to open one at a time. Except you use virtual machine. Yeah, if you use virtual machine, you can run 2 OS at the same time. But you say if you use, kalau guna 2 OS, tapi kita guna satu-satu dulu lah. Kalau mau buka Windows, buka Windows. Kalau mau buka Linux, buka Linux. Jadi biasanya aman. Tapi jangan dikacau lah file-file yang itu, jangan dikacau. Jadi saya pernah jadi tak boleh boot. Windows tu tidak boleh boot kan. Tapi dia ada Linux Rescue Boot. Boot Rescue. Boleh rescue balik. dia boleh cari OS dan then dia akan reinstall, bukan reinstall, reconfigure supaya boleh dua-dua. Tapi tanya pengalaman saya, dual OS ni dia at the end nanti you akan ada guna satu saja. Dia jarang kita akan tukar-tukar itu. So nasihat saya satu aja, guna satu. Guna satu. Kalau mau guna dua boleh lah. Tapi sebab apa? Tapi saya rasa yang ramai guna Microsoft itu mungkin sebab games. Sebab games kan. Ya, gamers ya. But you can try Linux also, they allow you to play some of the games. Some, not all. Because I don't play game. Last time I play Doom lah, Doom. My time Doom. After that no more game. Busy teaching. Okay, tapi aman lah, aman. Tapi kena hati-hati lah.
Please say thank you to Sopati and give applause. Thank you. Baik, terima kasih atas pemaparannya, Prof. dan juga Bu Ita sebagai pembicaranya. Baik, ada berikutnya yaitu penyerahan tunjangan yang akan disampaikan oleh Ketua Pembantu.
Okay, ya.
Oh iya, oke. Iya, siapa? Mbak Aca tuh. Oh gitu, nggak apa. Barcode-nya itu ya? Barcode-nya itu buat absen. Iya, barcode itu buat absen. Itu barcode absen kan? Baik, terima kasih. Untuk teman-teman hadirin sekalian dari kelas sistem operasi, baik dari informatika dan juga sedikit, silakan untuk melakukan absensi dengan cara scan barcode. Ditutup ya. Foto bersama nggak ya? Pakai nggak? Oh. Baik. Baik, saya persilakan Prof. Bat dan juga Bu Intan untuk memandu. Kita akan foto bersama dengan seluruh peserta yang hadir ini. Ayo. Ini ada kok. 3 kali bergeser. Foto, ada foto kayak gini ya. Yuk, foto.
Masa dia pindah? Masa pindah? Ditempel. Foto. Oh. Lucu. Ya.
Musik dulu ya.
Baik, demikian acara seminar series of Introduction to Operating System. Semoga acara ini bisa bermanfaat untuk kita semua. Sebagai penutup saya ada pantun. Siang hari makan kuaci, makan bareng sama Bu Asri. Sekian acara hari ini, saya ucapkan banyak terima kasih.
Oh iya, tak kau mulai. Tak kayak konten.
Yes.
Okay.